My name is Lydia Harper. I'm 33. And 3 weeks after my husband threw me out of our home, he asked if I had reflected. Instead, I handed him divorce papers. If you think this is about revenge, it's not. It's about what happens when someone finally stops begging to be believed. The night it happened, it wasn't loud. No screaming, no slammed doors, just silence. The kind that settles into your bones and makes everything feel colder than it is. I stood in the doorway of our house in Seattle, my suitcase by my feet, while Daniel, my husband of 5 years, leaned against the kitchen counter like I was already gone. "You scared him," he said flatly. I blinked. "What?" "My son," he continued. "Ethan said you grabbed him, that you've been aggressive." The word hung in the air like something rotten. Aggressive. I let out a quiet laugh, not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd I didn't know what else. "Daniel," I said slowly, "I've known Ethan since he was 13. He used to ask me to help him with homework. He called me when you worked late." "That was before," he cut in. "Before." "Before what?" "Before I stopped letting him manipulate every situation. Before I told him no for the first time." Trust doesn't always break in a dramatic moment. Sometimes it just erodes. In the way someone avoids your eyes. In the way they choose silence instead of asking questions. "You didn't even ask me what happened," I said. Daniel sighed like I was exhausting him. "I don't want this to turn into a fight." "A fight. Right? So what do you want?" I asked. "I think you should take some time," he said. Reflect. Reflect. As if I was the problem that needed fixing. As if I hadn't just been accused of something I didn't do. He picked up my suitcase and placed it by the door. Not angrily, not violently, just decisively. That hurt more. For 3 weeks, I stayed at my friend Megan's apartment. A small place above a coffee shop that smelled like burnt espresso and cinnamon. It wasn't home, but it was safe. And every night, I lay awake scrolling through Ethan's social media. Photos of him and Daniel at baseball games. Captions like, "Finally some peace." "Cutting toxic people out is self-care." Thousands of likes. Comments from people who had no idea what really happened. "You're so strong. Glad you got away from her." Each one felt like a quiet accusation. But I didn't respond. Didn't defend myself. Because something inside me had shifted. I wasn't angry. I was done. When Daniel finally texted me, it was exactly what I expected. "Can we talk? I think we both need closure." Closure. As if this was mutual. As if I had any part in the decision he made without me. I stared at the message for a long time before replying, "Okay." When I walked back into that house, everything looked the same. Same furniture, same photos on the wall, but it didn't feel like mine anymore. Daniel opened the door, relief flickering across his face. Like he expected tears, like he thought I'd come back softer. Instead, I handed him a manila envelope. "This is my reflection," I said. He frowned. "What is this?" "Open it." He did, and as he flipped through the pages, the color drained from his face. Divorce papers. Behind him, Ethan appeared in the hallway. "What's going on?" he asked. Daniel didn't answer. "Lydia?" Ethan's voice sharpened. "What is that?" I finally looked at him. Really looked. At the boy who once hugged me goodnight. At the teenager who learned how to twist the truth until it sounded believable. "It's the consequence," I said calmly. "This is ridiculous," Daniel snapped. "You're overreacting." I almost smiled. "Overreacting." "You threw me out," I said quietly, without asking a single question. "I trusted my son." "And you didn't trust your wife." The silence that followed was heavy. Uncomfortable. Real. Ethan crossed his arms. "Because you pushed me." I turned to him. "No," I said evenly. "I walked past you after you called me a gold digger." His expression flickered, just for a second. "Enough. I'm not doing this," Daniel muttered. "We can fix this." "No," I said. "You can't." He stepped closer. "Lydia?" "I already moved my half of the money," I added. That stopped him. "What?" "I won't be funding a life where I'm treated like a liability." "You had no right." "I had every right." Ethan's voice broke, louder now. "You're ruining everything." I looked at him, calm. "No," I said. "You did that when you lied." I walked out without slamming the door, without looking back. Because sometimes the strongest exit is the quiet one. The next morning, I signed the lease on a small apartment overlooking Lake Union. No memories, no ghosts, just space. For the first time in years, I slept without tension in my chest. A week later, everything changed. Not because of me, but because the truth has a way of surfacing. Especially when people get careless. The shift didn't happen overnight. It never does. Truth doesn't crash into people's lives like a storm. It leaks in slowly through cracks they didn't know were there. 3 days after I moved into my new apartment, my phone buzzed with a message from someone I hadn't spoken to in months. Caroline Brooks, Daniel's assistant. I stared at her name, my thumb hovering over the screen. We were never friends, but we were never strangers either. She had always watched everything quietly. The kind of woman who noticed details others ignored. I opened the message. Lydia, I don't know what's going on, but something feels off. Ethan's been using Daniel's company card a lot. I sat up straighter. My pulse didn't race. It slowed because suddenly everything started making sense. I called her. Say that again, I said, my voice calm. There was a pause on the other end. I wasn't supposed to notice, Caroline admitted. But I handle expense reports sometimes, and there are charges that don't line up. What kind of charges? Another pause. Designer stores, concert tickets, hotels. I closed my eyes for a moment. Of course. How much? I asked. At least $8,000, maybe more. $8,000, while accusing me of manipulation, while playing the victim. Does Daniel know? I asked. No, she said quickly. Ethan submits them under miscellaneous operations. Daniel signs off without checking details. He trusts him. Trust. That word again, always given so easily and taken away from the wrong person. Can you send me proof? I asked. Silence, then a quiet. Yes. That night, I sat at my small kitchen table, laptop open, staring at the files Caroline had sent. Receipts, transactions, dates, all lined up like a confession no one had asked for. $1,200, designer sneakers. $850, VIP concert passes. $2,300, luxury hotel weekend. All under Daniel's business account. All signed off blindly. And suddenly, Ethan's lies weren't just about me. They were a distraction. A cover. I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel anger. Just clarity. Sharp, clean, final. The next morning, I called my lawyer. I have evidence of financial misuse, I said. Not mine. His son's. There was a pause. That changes things, he replied. I'm not looking for revenge, I said quietly. I know, he said. You're looking for truth. 2 days later, I walked into Daniel's office building. Unannounced, uninvited, unapologetic. The receptionist when she saw me. Mrs. Harper? I smiled politely. Not for long. Daniel looked up the moment I stepped into his office. Shock, then confusion, then something else. Hope. Lydia, he said, standing up. I was just about to call you. I know, I replied calmly. That's why I came first. I placed a folder on his desk. Not dramatically, not aggressively, just deliberately. What is this? He asked. Something you should have looked at weeks ago, I said. He opened it. And as his eyes moved across the pages, his entire body stilled. Color drained from his face. His hands tightened. This isn't, he started. It is, I said. He flipped faster now. Page after page, receipt after receipt, proof after proof. No, he muttered. Ethan wouldn't. He did, I said. Silence filled the room. Heavy. Unavoidable. Why are you showing me this? He asked finally. I met his eyes. Because you never asked me for the truth, I said. So now I'm giving you yours. His jaw clenched. He's my son. And I was your wife. That landed. Hard. Before he could respond, the door opened. Ethan walked in and froze. His eyes flicked from me to the folder to his father's face. What's going on? He asked slowly. Daniel didn't answer. He just turned the folder toward him. Explain this. Ethan's confidence didn't disappear instantly. It cracked, just slightly. What is that supposed to be? He scoffed. Don't, Daniel said sharply. For the first time, I saw it. Not control, not authority, but doubt. I didn't do anything wrong, Ethan said quickly. But his voice wasn't steady anymore. $8,000, Daniel said quietly. From my company. It's not like that. Then what is it like? Daniel snapped. Ethan looked at me then, really looked. And in that moment, he knew I hadn't come back to defend myself. I had come back to end the lie. You told him I hurt you, I said calmly. You did, he shot back. No, I replied. I didn't. Daniel looked between us. Lost. Why would you lie? He asked his son. And that question, that simple, obvious question, came 3 weeks too late. Ethan's mask finally slipped. I didn't lie, he said, but weaker now. You just exaggerated? I tilted my head slightly. Silence. I just didn't want her here, he said suddenly. The truth. Ugly. Small. Real. Daniel stared at him. What? She replaced Mom, Ethan snapped. You treated her like she mattered more. I never. Yes, you did, he shouted. And I was supposed to just accept it? The room felt smaller, tighter. So you accused her of abuse? Daniel said, his voice dangerously quiet. Ethan didn't answer. That's what you did, he pressed. I just needed you to choose me, Ethan muttered. And there it was. Not innocence, not confusion. Choice. Daniel sat down slowly, like something inside him had finally collapsed. I watched it happen, not with satisfaction, but with distance. This is what you believed, I said quietly, without question. And for the first time, he didn't have an argument. I'm sorry, he said. I nodded once, I know. And I turned to leave. Lydia, wait. I paused at the door, but I didn't turn around. There's nothing left to fix, I said. And this time, when I walked away, it wasn't painful, it was final. The fallout didn't explode. It unraveled. Quietly, publicly, irreversibly. Within a week, the story spread through Daniel's company. Not because of me, I never said a word. But offices don't need announcements, they run on whispers, and whispers travel faster than truth ever has to. Did you hear about his son? $8,000? They're auditing everything now. Daniel's name didn't disappear overnight, but it changed from respected to questioned, from confident to careful. Ethan stopped posting. No more smiling selfies. No more captions about toxic people. Just silence. The kind he once used against me. Now it belonged to him. I watched none of it unfold directly. I didn't check their pages, didn't ask for updates. Because for the first time, I wasn't living in reaction to them. I had my own life now. Mornings started with quiet, coffee by the window, sunlight stretching across the floor like something new being written. I began working again, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I joined a small consulting firm downtown. Nothing flashy, nothing connected to Daniel, just mine. No one there knew my story, and that was the point. I wasn't the wife who got thrown out. I wasn't the woman accused. I was just Lydia. And somehow that felt like more than I'd been in years. 2 weeks later, I received an email from Daniel. Subject, I understand now. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. I was wrong, not just about what happened, about everything. I chose the easier truth instead of the real one, and I lost you because of it. Ethan is in therapy. I'm trying to fix what I broke, but I know some things don't get fixed. You deserved better than how I treated you. I just didn't realize it until it was too late. I read it once, then again, and then I closed it. No reply, no anger, no satisfaction, just acceptance. Because apologies don't rewind time. And understanding doesn't rebuild trust. A few days later, I got another message. This one surprised me. Ethan. Subject, I don't expect forgiveness. I hesitated, then opened it. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I needed to say this anyway. I lied. Not just about what happened that night, about everything. I told myself you were the problem because it was easier than admitting I was jealous. You didn't replace my mom. I just didn't know how to share my dad. And I ruined everything because of it. I exhaled slowly. You didn't deserve what I did, and I'm sorry. No excuses, no manipulation, just truth. I sat there for a long time, not crying, not shaking, just feeling the weight of it. And then I replied, I don't hate you, Ethan, but what you did had consequences, not just for me, for you. Learn from it. That's the only way this means something. I hit it. And that was enough. Closure doesn't always feel powerful. Sometimes it just feels quiet. A month later, the air changed. Cooler, softer, like the world itself was exhaling. I started running again, early mornings by the lake, the kind where the city is still half asleep, where everything feels possible because nothing has happened yet. One morning I saw him, Daniel, sitting alone on a bench near the water. He looked different, not older, not weaker, just stripped of something. He saw me too. Lydia, he said, standing up. I stopped, but I didn't step closer. Can we talk? He asked. I considered it, not because I needed to, but because I could. Okay, I said. He exhaled, relieved. I meant what I wrote, he said. I didn't believe you when I should have, and I can't undo that. No, I said quietly. You can't. He nodded. I thought being a good father meant always choosing my son, he admitted, even when he was wrong. And now, I asked, now I know that protecting someone from consequences just teaches them they don't have any. I studied him for a moment. You've changed, I said. I'm trying to, he replied. Silence settled between us. Not uncomfortable, just honest. Do you hate me? He asked finally. I looked out at the water, at the way the light moved across it, at how calm it looked, even though it was never truly still. No, I said, and I meant it. I just don't need you anymore. That was the truth. Simple, final, free. He nodded slowly, like he understood, like he finally heard me. I hope you find what you're looking for, he said. I already did, I replied. And then I turned and walked away. Not angry, not sad, not triumphant, just done. 3 months later, I stood in a small community space downtown, a rented hall with folding chairs, soft lighting, and a simple sign on the wall, Reclaim. It started as an idea, a quiet one. Late nights, scribbled notes, unfinished thoughts. A place for women who had been dismissed, silenced, blamed for things they didn't break. Now it was real. They came slowly at first, one by one, then more. Different stories, same pattern. I thought it was my fault. He said I was overreacting. No one believed me. I listened. That's all I did at first. Because sometimes, being heard is the beginning of healing. One evening as the room emptied, I saw someone standing near the door, hesitating. Ethan, he looked unsure, smaller somehow. I didn't know if I should come, he admitted. You're here, I said. He nodded. I want to understand. Maybe help. I studied him, not the boy who lied, but the one standing here now. Then start by listening, I said. He gave a small, genuine nod. Okay. And for the first time, I believed him. Later that night, I stood by my window, the city lights stretching out in front of me. I thought about everything that had happened. The night I stood on that porch, the silence, the betrayal, and the woman I was then. She thought losing them meant losing everything. She was wrong. Because losing them was the first moment I finally found myself. I picked up my laptop and opened a document. A title sat at the top, The Cost of Silence. I smiled, because this time, I wasn't writing to explain myself. I was writing because my voice mattered. And as I began to type, one thought stayed with me, clear, steady, unshakable. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is walk away from the people who never chose you, and finally choose yourself.